the ancient demon sacred ancestor in Kunwu Mountain, whose power is comparable to a deity transformation cultivator, detonated the heavenly spirit treasure, the black wine flag. Countless spatial rifts ripped through the area. Several late-stage nascent soul cultivators were torn to shreds by the spatial forces and perished. Even Han Li's recently subdued high-grade demonic beasts were not spared. Fortunately, Han Li used the Sutia cauldron to escape the calamity. Han Li sighed inwardly, having no time to dwell on it. His gaze quickly swept across the entire space, trying to assess the current situation. To his surprise, he discovered that Yingping and Shai Shang, although they hadn't fled to the edge like him, were completely unharmed. The corpse devil, Shai Shang, was enveloped in a blinding, bloody light. His expression was relatively calm. As for Lin Yin, the girl's face was pale with fright. This was because several rifts had just brushed past her. For her to have survived was truly a matter of sheer luck. He didn't know if it was because the so-called sky blue sacred beast was truly that immensely powerful that it could secretly protect its saintess. However, Han Li only glanced at the two of them for a moment. His gaze then fell upon the distant altar, his expression becoming somewhat tense. Just now, that Yuan Sha's sacred ancestor's divine sense clone had detonated the black wine flag, clearly targeting the seal. The space above the altar was shrouded in a large, pitch-black miasma. Although he couldn't see anything clearly, the surrounding stone pillars had mostly been destroyed in the recent spatial tearing. Only a small, solitary portion remained standing. Evidently, this formation had been utterly destroyed. As Han Li watched with narrowed eyes, the distant black mass flickered a few times and then shrank rapidly. Then, it suddenly and bizarrely vanished. What was revealed caused Han Li's pupils to shrink. The altar, which had been over 100 zhang tall, was now only 5 or 6 zhang high. The upper half looked as if it had been sliced clean off by a sky-supporting giant. Only half of it remained, and near the altar floated two objects and one person. The person was enveloped in purple light, which protected Xiangjili inside. The originally radiant, dazzling protective light was now flickering precariously, looking as if it would shatter with a single puff of wind. Xiangjili himself was covered in sweat, his face pale, as if he had just been through some kind of fierce battle. One of the two objects was that constantly spinning reverse heart plate. This object was spinning round and round in the air, its body enveloped in a mass of what looked like gelatinous golden light, giving it a mysterious and unfathomable appearance. The other object hovered directly above the altar. It was a small, dark remnant of something. Its strange shape startled Han Li for a moment, but he immediately recognized it. It was actually the small remaining piece of the black wine flag. The majority of this spirit treasure had been completely annihilated in the earlier self-detonation, but this remaining part was still flickering with black light, looking as if it hadn't been completely destroyed. Han Li scanned the area, but he didn't see any sign of Ling Long or the Black Wolf. Just as he was feeling very surprised, the reverse heart plate suddenly moved. From its center, a jet of golden light erupted. A graceful figure materialized along with this golden light, and then stared coldly at the remains of the black wine flag. It was none other than the woman, Ling Long, and at almost the same time, that small piece of the black wine flag also began to change. A surge of black sha erupted violently from it, and immediately condensed, transforming into a large, two-handed black wolf with sharp fangs. The wolf's fur was dull, and its four eyes were completely lifeless. Seeing this wolf, Xiangjili's expression turned grim. He took a few deep breaths, and his originally deathly pale face instantly glowed with renewed vigor. Then, without another word, he raised a hand, extended two fingers, and pointed at the wolf. With two soft poof sounds, two beams of light, one gold and one red, shot out from his fingertips. The moment they left his hand, they transformed into something over 10 zhang long, like two divine dragons from beyond the heavens, crossing paths as they charged straight for the black wolf. Xiangjili, for his part, was quite sharp. Although he didn't know what had just happened, it was obvious that this guy, reeking of demonic energy, was without a doubt a fiend suppressed by the demon-suppressing pagoda. Naturally, he had to take advantage of the opponent's extreme weakness and strike first to gain the upper hand. The black wolf's face filled with rage. It immediately raised both hands, each spraying out a stream of black light. It managed to block the massive beams of light from below, but the moment they made contact, it was clear it was outmatched. Apparently, detonating the black wine flag earlier had almost completely exhausted its power. But the wolf wasn't panicked. Instead, After a grim glance at the altar below, it suddenly let out a shriek that could pierce metal and stone. In the distance, a trace of astonishment appeared on Han Li's face, because an unbelievable scene was unfolding. The altar, dozens of jong high, instantly began to crumble, as if it were built from sand on a beach. Amidst the shrieking, it turned to nothing. At almost the same time, from the ruins of the altar, streams of jet black, ink-like demonic energy silently began to emerge, rapidly spreading throughout the entire space. This is bad. The seal has been broken. When Nian Shaishang turned pale with fright, Ling Long, seeing this scene, her expression immediately darkened. Although Xiang Jili couldn't remember the events before his death, upon seeing so much demonic energy erupting from below, he seemed to recall something instantly. Just as his face turned grim, Han Li, witnessing this surge of demonic energy, felt the corner of his mouth twitch. Without a word, he pointed at a spot in the air. The giant golden sword floating above his head hummed. It then transformed into a brilliant streak of light, shooting toward the nearby barrier wall. After a loud rumbling sound, a blinding golden light erupted from the barrier, but immediately after, countless crimson firestones rained down in a dense assault. It turned out to be the humanoid puppet, unleashing a sky full of firestones with its thunder fire bow. Instantly, the entire barrier trembled slightly, but it was still clearly a long way from being shattered. The man's expression was grim as he flipped his hand over. A 3-leaf fan appeared in his palm, but before he could take a deep breath to use the fan, a piercing streak of blood-red light and 2 crescent-throwing knives shot out at the same time, striking the same barrier. Han Li's gaze swept over the area. It was senior brother Wan and Lin Yan. They had also flown to a stop nearby, and were attacking with anxious expressions. It seemed they also understood quite well that if they couldn't break the barrier quickly and escape, they would have no way to resist the corrosion of the demonic energy. Whether one wished to ascend to the netherworld using the power of Ling Long, or had their sights set on the heaven-connecting spirit treasure, their first priority now was to save their own lives. Han Li said nothing. The 3-leaf fan in his hand burst with a brilliant light. A 3-colored firebird shot out from the fan's surface with a long cry, slamming viciously into the barrier. In the next moment, a tricolored halo appeared, and as various runes flashed, the barrier let out a deafening roar, and began to twist and distort. The attacks from the other treasures naturally grew even more ferocious at the same time. Under the barrage of various attacks, the barrier was distorted to its limit, yet it still refused to break. Han Li's expression turned grim. He quickly took out a jade bottle, while Fuzia and Lin Yan restored their magic power. As his mind raced, just as he was about to use another attack, a yellow light flashed by in an instant. After the light faded, a yellow talisman appeared and stuck to the barrier wall. Instantly, a layer of yellow light covered the barrier wall. Pan and I was stunned. Before he could understand what was happening, another ball of golden light, wrapping something, descended like a meteor from the heavens. A monster wrapped in layers of restrictions materialized in a flash near the barrier wall. Under the matrix of the empty barrier, it actually shattered, creating a hole from the outside, through which several rays of white light shone in. It was revealed. Overjoyed and surprised, Han Li moved without a second thought, instantly transforming into a streak of light and shooting straight out of the hole. The humanoid puppet also vanished from its spot in a flash. His vision cleared, and Han Li found himself in a somewhat familiar hall. A dull light followed closely behind Han Li, flying out. After circling in the air here, they all revealed their forms. Besides that, when Nian Shaishang and Lin Yinping, the other person was surprisingly the one who had just been in the alley near the altar, and this hall was actually the 7th floor of the demon-suppressing tower. Han Li looked at the little old man in some surprise. The other party gave Han Li a mischievous grin, and seemed about to say something, but just then, a golden pillar of light shot out directly from the barrier wall, then converged into a single point, forming a huge ball of light. A figure flashed, and the silver-haired woman, holding the reverse heart plate, appeared in the ball of light. The little old man's open mouth immediately snapped shut, swallowing the words he was about to say, and swallowed it immediately. Meanwhile, the hole in Zhang Bisheng was shrinking rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it had vanished. The few people in the hall fell silent, wary of each other. They could only stare at each other in bewilderment. HMPH. If you all continue to stand here in a daze, once that demonic fog absorbs enough demonic energy, death will be the only path left for us. Ling Long's icy gaze swept across the faces of Han Li and Xiang Jili. and she was the first to speak. "Are you Senior Long Ming?" Xiang Jili asked hesitantly, not quite sure. After all, he was one of the ones who sealed her in the Painted Temple realm back then. But this new soul, a fusion of Long Meng and a demonic soul, felt completely different from the Ling Long he knew. "You seem to know quite a lot. Was it the three elders of Kunwu who left a message for you? However, that so-called Long Meng is merely a part of me," Ling Long said bluntly. Such a complicated relationship naturally made Xiang Jili blink. Momentarily confused, Ling Long's elegant brows furrowed, but she still moved her lips slightly to transmit her voice to him. After just a few sentences, Xiang Jili was first shocked, and then came to a sudden realization. He hurriedly scanned Ling Long again with his eyes, after using his spiritual sense to confirm that the silver-haired woman before him truly had not a trace of demonic energy. His expression finally relaxed. He hastily cupped his fist and said, "Congratulations, Consort Ling Long, on finally escaping your confinement today." Regarding the matter of the consort, the three elders did indeed leave us juniors some words of guidance back then. As for what happened, the three elders were forced and had no other choice. After all, at that time, Fairy Long Meng's primordial spirit had actually merged with the demonic soul, becoming one. They simply didn't dare to release Long Meng. Humph, so the fairy just leaves like that. We'll discuss this matter after I return to the spirit realm. You should focus on how to control the demonic cha. My body, if it's soaked in the true demonic cha for more than 3 days, it will completely solidify into a demonized vessel. At that point, this demon will have also recovered its original divine powers, and with the help of the endless demonic cha from the altar, once it leaves this place, it would not be hard at all to raise another great army of demons. The entire human realm will also see the return of the chaotic scenes from the great ancient war. Ling Long said coldly, "You don't have to tell me, Senior. This junior is already aware of some of this. Let's not even mention how terrifying the true demonic cha is. Just the fact that this demon can recover its former, astonishing cultivation level, means that in our human realm, I'm afraid no one will be able to stop him. But the 9th level is already filled with demonic cha. Even if we wanted to kill him now, while he's weak, I'm afraid we simply don't have the ability to. This demon has a constant supply of demonic cha. As long as it deliberately avoids us, the two of us will have no choice but to retreat again. And what's more, my breach talismans that I requested from the tiny sect, I only have 2 of them left." Xiang Jili rubbed his hands together. He said with a wry smile. Hearing this, the silver-haired woman knew that what he said was true. She couldn't help but fall into deep thought. In that case, can't we just seal that demonic cha up again? Hearing this, Lin Yinping couldn't help but speak up. How could it possibly be that easy? The original sealing formation was destroyed, and the Hua Longxi, which controls the prohibitions of Kunwu Mountain, was also shattered by a single palm strike from this demon as I was leaving. Otherwise, if we had been able to get our hands on that artifact, we could have activated the backup formation and suppressed the demonic cha again. But now, at this, Xiang Jili shook his head and sighed. As soon as he said this, the hall fell silent once again. Since there is a backup formation made from ancient materials, it can't be that the only control artifact is the dragon transformation seal, right? The silent Han Li calmly spoke up. Hearing Han Li's words, Xiang Jili paused for a moment, then shook his head and said, "Indeed, since there is a backup formation, the ancient cultivators back then also prepared another artifact to control the restriction on Kunwu Mountain. However, this artifact is different from the dragon transformation seal. Its whereabouts have been unknown since ancient times. It's said to be hidden in an unexpected place on this mountain. The only ones who know its location are the descendants of one of the 3 elders of Kunwu, but these descendants went into hiding under a new name long ago. Their whereabouts are completely unknown now. How are we supposed to find them? The other descendants, HMPH, so that's how it is. Those 3 old geezers were really cautious." Ling Long snorted. She immediately understood the intentions of the 3 elders of Kunwu, Lin Yinping and his senior brother. Upon hearing this, both revealed looks of concern. Han Li also frowned deeply, but he casually asked another question. "This other artifact, what kind of treasure is it? Is it also a similar seal?" "No, it's not. It's a stone stele called the Tianjin stele. If we have this stele, we can activate the backup formation." Xiang Jili replied nonchalantly. The Tianjin steely. Han Li's expression didn't change, but his heart suddenly leapt in shock. He immediately recalled the item he had obtained. At the mountain gate, weren't the ancient characters inscribed on it this very name? At almost the same instant, he immediately sensed a gaze sweep over him. It was Ling Long, who seemed to glance at him inadvertently. Han Li's heart skipped a beat. If there's really no other way, let's leave this place first. That demonic creature won't be a problem for several days. It won't be able to break out of this space. Let's take this opportunity. I will gather all the cultivators from the vicinity of the southern border to set up some grand formations. For now, we'll reseal this mineral mountain. Then, I will summon the entire dying sect to gather here. This demonic creature is still alone for now, no matter how powerful its abilities become after absorbing the demonic chat. With tens of thousands of cultivators attacking together, we can surely eliminate it. As for those demon-suppressing artifacts, they are inanimate objects. After all, at worst, we can first designate the surrounding 10,000 miles as a forbidden zone, and then slowly figure out a way to deal with them. Xiang Jili is a spirit transformation stage cultivator. After all, with just a few words, he came up with a feasible plan. Xiang Dao said, "What you've said makes a lot of sense. Let's do it this way. I will go to Wen Yaogu and report this matter to the Valley Master. This is not just a matter for you human cultivators. Our Yao clan will also send people to lend you a hand." Shaishang let out a long breath and said with great sincerity, "Oh, if your esteemed valley is willing to help, our chances of success will naturally be much higher, especially your valley's fellow Dao Siechi. Ever since this old man began cultivating, I have long admired his great name. It's a pity that I've tried to visit several times but never had the chance to meet him. It seems fellow Dao Siechi has always been in seclusion," Xiang Jili said with great delight. When Shai Shang heard this, he gave a few dry laughs, but didn't give a direct answer. However, after a slight shift in his eyes, he suddenly turned to Ling Long and said respectfully, "Princess Consort Ling Long, our valley master is actually someone you once knew, Your Highness." As he spoke, Shai Shang went silent and began to transmit his voice with a slight movement of his lips. Ling Long's expression was originally indifferent, but after hearing just a few words, her expression changed, and a flash of surprise crossed her eyes. "It's him. I was wondering, how did he know I was sealed beneath the demon-suppressing pagoda?" Ling Long murmured a few words to herself, seemingly recalling some past events. A hint of loneliness even appeared on her face. "Since Your Highness already knows the identity of our ancient lord, why not first follow me back to Wanyao Valley to stay for a while? In our Wanyao Valley, there are all sorts of spirit birds and exotic beasts, countless in number. There are certainly enough for Your Highness to choose another suitable body," Shai Shang said with sincerity. "Go to Wanyao Valley. I'm not interested, nor will I leave Kunwu Mountain. In a moment, I will return to the space I was just in." The silver-haired woman actually said something that made everyone almost think they had misheard. "Your Highness wants to go back. How can that be?" Senior brother Wanian cried out in alarm. "But I'm not going alone. This person's evil warding divine lightning is of some use to me. He will accompany me back." Ling Long glanced at Han Li, pointed a finger at him, and said coolly. Han Li's expression shifted, but he immediately became expressionless. "Senior Ling Long, are you perhaps joking? Why must you take such a risk?" Xiang Jili frowned in confusion. He glanced at Han Li and couldn't help but ask, with a look that also showed he didn't want this woman to face that danger again. "I am different from you all. I was originally someone who descended to this realm in my true body from the spirit realm. Even if in the future, my cultivation is restored to the late spirit transformation stage, I will be unable to ascend a second time on my own. If I want to return to the spirit realm, the only way is to retrieve my true body, and then return directly through the reverse ascension passage. And this time, I will prepare my silver Volf clan's innate divine ability beforehand. As long as I can get close to that demon, I should have a 50% chance of reclaiming my body." Ling Long said, coldly, "Your Highness, please reconsider this." Senior brother Wanian flushed with embarrassment. He seemed to be in a very difficult position. Xiang Jili, at his side, also tried to hurriedly dissuade her. The slender, silver-haired woman, her jade-like hand holding a lock of her long hair that was like pure silver, had a hint of sarcasm at the corner of her lips. "I know you want to find out from me the whereabouts of the passage of age reversal. You're afraid that if I go, I'll be lost inside, ruining your plans. Am I right?" Upon hearing this, senior brother had an awkward look on his face. But as for Xiang Jili, his expression didn't change as he kept saying it was all a misunderstanding. He didn't look the least bit flustered that his intentions were exposed. All right. Regardless of what you two are thinking, of the people who descended to the lower realm through this passage back then, both humans and demons, though there were many, those who truly knew the details, I'm afraid there were very few. The passage of age reversal, in the spirit realm, was not something ordinary cultivators could even get close to. The so-called passage of age reversal doesn't actually exist, nor does it have a fixed location. With just one light sentence from the silver-haired woman, both Xiang Jili and senior brother were left completely stunned. Han Li's eyes flickered a few times, like shooting stars, as he listened to the conversation, but his divine sense quietly slipped into his storage pouch, secretly inspecting that piece of Tianjin shell. Beside him, Lin Yinping, however, was for a moment truly captivated by the secrets of the passage of age reversal, listening with rapt attention. Doesn't actually exist? What does that mean? Xiang Jili seemed to have a vague idea in his heart, but he still asked, with a grave expression. It's very simple. The passage of age reversal was nothing more than a temporary passage we in the spirit realm created by borrowing the power of heaven and earth. After that passage sent our group of people and demons to descend upon the human realm, it ceased to exist long ago. Ling Long said coldly. Impossible. If that's truly the case, then, after the great ancient war, there were clearly still people who, there is no reverse spirit passage to return to the spirit realm. How did they do it? But Shai Shang refused to believe it. He hurriedly asked, have you forgotten when the ancient demon realm first invaded the human realm? How did the human cultivators contact our spirit realm for reinforcements? Ling Long said indifferently, the realm crossing incense. Xiang Jili frowned. That's right. Back then, those people from the human realm, naturally lit this incense beforehand to notify the spirit realm, and had them open the passage once more. Let's not even talk about whether you still have this incense or not. Even if you do you think the spirit realm would open the passage again? Just for the few of you, you must understand, every time the reverse spirit passage is opened, the amount of top-grade spirit stones consumed, is so great that even if your human clan and our Yao clan joined forces, we would find it unbearable. Ling Long's words nearly shattered Shai Zhang's last sliver of hope. Then, Your Highness, after you retrieve your body, how will you return to the spirit realm? Xiang Jili, however, grasped the key point and asked calmly, as the consort of the heavenly Kui Volf King and a grand princess of the Silvermoon Volf clan, I am naturally different from other lower realm Yo cultivators. Within both my true body and my spiritual consciousness, a mark of the reverse travel disc has been implanted. As long as I can return to my body and activate the power of this mark, even across realms, the special formation set up for me by the clan elders, will immediately activate the power of the reverse travel disc itself, forcibly opening a small reverse spirit passage, to take me back, and this passage can only be used by me. If anyone else tries to enter through it, their mark won't match, and they will be immediately torn to shreds by the passage's power. Back then, if I hadn't been suddenly attacked by sacred ancestor Yuan Sha, who sealed and possessed my body, and my spiritual consciousness was forced to separate from it, I could have returned to the spirit realm long ago. Why else would I be stranded here until now? Ling Long said impatiently about the imprint. The heart disk in your hand was never a physical object. I was wondering why this legendary secret treasure of the spirit realm, is so much weaker than I imagined. Shikshong stared at Ling Long. He was crestfallen, looking at the disc in her hand. The smile on Xiang Jili's face completely vanished. His expression suddenly turned grim. For anyone whose hopes of several hundred years had suddenly turned to nothing, they would probably have a similar expression. Han Li, however, grew highly alert at this moment. He quietly took a few steps back. He had no idea what they, with their dreams shattered, might do in a state of madness. Is it possible that besides advancing to the late-stage spirit transformation, there's truly no other method to ascend to the spirit realm, the current state of the worldly spiritual energy in our mortal realm? Your Highness should also be aware of it. The possibility of cultivating to the late stage is practically non-existent. Shikshong heaved a long sigh and asked with his last sliver of hope towards the alluring woman, you all can still get into the spirit realm through another method. However, this method is only feasible in theory. From ancient times until now, very few have actually succeeded. You could call it a path of 9 deaths and 1 life. Do you still want to hear it? Ling Long looked at the eager gazes of the two. She actually chuckled lightly, her charm suddenly blossoming, possessing an enchanting grace. It made Han Li, who was watching coldly from the side, feel his mouth go dry. He was startled and quickly activated the Great Development Art. Only then did he manage to stabilize his mind again. He couldn't help but feel a sense of dread in his heart. Of course, we want to hear it. No matter how dangerous. It's better than just sitting here in the mortal realm, waiting to die. Xiangjili's spirits were lifted. He quickly interjected. Naturally, Shikshong also nodded repeatedly. It's not impossible for me to tell you. But as a price, I need to borrow one thing from each of you two, to help me regain my physical body. A cunning glint flashed in the silver-haired woman's eyes. Borrow something. Xiangjili and Wen Nianshai were momentarily stunned. That, the sheath of the imitation demon dragon blade, and the 2 remaining realm-breaking talismans that fellow Taoist Xiang has, Ling Long said with a smile. Hearing what Ling Long said, Xiangjili agreed in an instant, but Shai Shang showed a trace of hesitation. In the end, however, he gritted his teeth and nodded as well. Although that sheath was precious, when compared to a way to enter the spirit realm, he naturally knew which was the better choice. A moment later, 2 earthy yellow, mysterious talismans, and a half-foot-long blood blade appeared in Ling Long's hands. The woman carefully inspected these items, and holding the blood blade in one hand, she played with it for a moment as its bloody light flashed wildly. Only then did she put them away with satisfaction. Then, she spoke to Xiangjili and the other. In this world, things that can connect the upper and lower realms, besides the temporary reverse age passage, there are actually some that exist in the mortal realm, naturally weak spatial nodes. The power of the realm's boundary in these places is far weaker than in other areas. Some of them are even located in a spatial rift between the 2 realms. As long as there's enough external force, it's still possible to open a path to the heavens. Back then, the reason the ancient demon realm could invade the mortal realm was because they happened to discover one such node between the ancient demon realm and the mortal realm. Otherwise, those ancient demon saint ancestors, no matter how great their divine powers were, could not have easily come to this realm. Node. Xiangjili listened with a stunned expression. The others also wore contemplative expressions upon hearing this. Of course, the world is so vast. These nodes are not that easy to find. The ancient cultivators of the past searched the entire world but only found a dozen or so. Some of them can change position at any time, while others are fixed in a specific location, but regardless of which type. The space at all the nodes is extremely unstable. It's the kind that could collapse at any moment, or form at any moment. Therefore, the paths open through them are also extremely dangerous, far beyond what the reverse age passage can compare to. And when passing through them, the most dangerous thing isn't the interdimensional force, but rather the spatial storms created by the instability of the passage. Once you're swept into one, no matter how great your divine powers are, death is certain. However, that's something for you to consider in the future. Right now, the most important thing is to first find the precise locations of these nodes. Although I still remember a few of them, so many years have passed. Most have likely either vanished or already collapsed. You will have to find the new nodes yourselves. Of course, before that, I will tell you too, the original node locations, the method to find them, and their specific characteristics. In detail, Ling Long said faintly, then we'll be relying on you, venerable consort. Senior brother and Xiangjili were overjoyed, and even took out a blank jade slip, handing it to the silver-haired woman. She then copied a set of the data for each of them, and returned the slip to them. Lin Yinping stood to the side, watching with burning desire, but she didn't dare to rashly go forward and ask for a copy. All right, I've given you the information. With your experience, it shouldn't be hard to determine its authenticity. Now, I must return to the 9th layer of space. If you don't want to get swept in, you'd best leave quickly. I can't guarantee that the ancient tomb won't take this opportunity to break out of this space. Ling Long said. When Xiangjili and senior brother heard these words, which were practically telling them to leave, after a few fruitless attempts at persuasion, they said no more. Each summoned a stream of light and departed. As for Nao and Yinping, after looking at Han Li, he also remained silent, transforming into a ball of fluorescent light and leaving, in the blink of an eye, Only two people remained in the great hall, Han Li and the silver-haired woman. Han Li's eyes narrowed slightly, staring at the woman without blinking. His expression was cold. The woman, however, was looking towards the hall's exit, her gaze flickering uncertainly. After a moment, the silver-haired woman let out a long sigh. Those two are sensible enough. They didn't leave behind any spiritual sense to spy on us. Now, you can take out that Tianjin cup. As she spoke, she turned and stared at Han Li. Are you so sure that what I have is the Tianjin tablet? Han Li sighed inwardly and replied coolly, if that wasn't the Tianjin tablet, I'd be very surprised. Don't forget, back then, a part of my primordial spirit was present, and also saw the ancient script on the golden cup. This time, as long as you help me reclaim my body, I will no longer ask for that small cauldron in your possession. At the same time, I'll let you have that bailing ruler spirit treasure. Although a profound spirit treasure is exceptionally precious, in the spirit realm, it isn't the highest tier treasure. However, what I find strange is that, it seems that in my memory, you possess some other great treasure, but I can't recall what it is. Did you do something to my split soul? As Ling Long spoke, her gaze suddenly turned ice cold. Senior, you must be joking. With the power of your spiritual sense, how could a mere mid-nascent soul cultivator like myself possibly tamper with it? Han Li's heart skipped a beat, but he replied nonchalantly, HMPH. Stop playing dumb. Your spirit abandonment pact hasn't been broken, and yet, there's a part of my memory, a memory related to you, that has clearly been sealed. It seems to be related to another item you possess. So, it's related to the treasure. I'm rather curious. What kind of treasure is more important to you than even the Sutia cauldron? The silver-haired woman let out a cold laugh, sizing Han Li up with a malicious gaze. What if you find out? Are you planning to capture me and interrogate me again? Han Li's expression turned grim. The humanoid puppet beside him suddenly flickered, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. At the same time, a faint fluorescent glow appeared on its body. Han Li had already made a decision. If this woman was truly determined to know about the small bottle and get to the bottom of it, he'd have no choice but to try and activate the artifact spirit to see if he could forcefully awaken Yinyue. But it was more likely that, before Yinyue could awaken, he would first be subdued by this woman. After all, the divine powers of a deity transformation cultivator were truly beyond what he could currently handle. He'd probably be captured by her in just a few moves, and that was even if she held back, not daring to harm him. Hearing Han Li's retort, the silver-haired woman's face grew even colder. Her elegant eyebrows gradually furrowed, and a hint of killing intent began to form. Han Li watched the woman warily. Of the hands hidden in his robes, one gripped the trigoose fan, while the other secretly formed a cultivation seal. At the same time, on the humanoid puppet's hand, a small bow faintly appeared. With a sudden chuckle, the silver-haired woman's face broke into a smile. She suddenly let out a delicate laugh. A voice that was incredibly familiar to Han Li emerged. Yinyue, is that you? Han Li was stunned for a moment. Then the voice spoke. Master, you really are quite cunning. Right before Longmeng and I merged, you went and temporarily sealed the memories of shopping. If it weren't for Ling Long's spiritual sense being greatly damaged in the spatial explosion inside, causing the God Stone, which is primarily controlled by Longmeng, to have no choice but to fall into a deep sleep, and I was able to seize control over this body of spiritual sense and unseal the memories again. I'm afraid you really would have gotten away with it, the woman said with a smile. As for sealing the memories, didn't you agree to it as well? Otherwise, how could it have been done so easily? Upon determining that the Ling Long before him was indeed being controlled by Yinyu's spiritual sense, Han Li said, overjoyed. A great weight was lifted from his shoulders. Although I've regained control, my spiritual power is ultimately far inferior to Longmeng's. If he just rests for a short while, or if this body of spiritual sense is damaged here, he will seize control again. Fortunately, although he had previously discovered that the memories were sealed, he didn't bother to investigate it deeply. Otherwise, this kind of crude sealing method would have never stood a chance against a serious attempt to break it. Master, if you truly wish to keep the knowledge of shopping from leaking, you must use the Finglin seal on me. With my cooperation, this secret sealing technique, which only seals the tiniest bit of information about shopping, will be absolutely foolproof, unless one of us perishes, or my status as an artifact spirit is formally revoked. Otherwise, Even in the spirit realm, the seal will be completely unbreakable, he said gravely. It seems this is the only way. But, in that case, once you get your body back, you can only return to the spirit realm. The joy on Han Li's face gradually faded, as he asked in a low voice. He didn't ask why this woman was helping him of her own accord. I have no choice but to return to the spirit realm. Otherwise, Longmeng alone cannot summon the Erlong Wong of the age-reversing passage. Ling Long and I share the same fate. If one is harmed, so is the other. The Killen identity awaits only you. After we both ascend to the critical stage, I'll finally have the chance to use the secret art to truly break free. In Ying Yu's eyes, a flicker of complex emotion showed for a moment, and she was speechless with tears in her eyes. Master, you should cast the spell beforehand, otherwise, there won't be enough time. Then I'll use the precept-breaking talisman to break the seal here, and use the blood blade to entangle that person. Master, you must take that opportunity to sneak in and activate the heavenly gold cup. As long as we use it to suppress the demonic energy, I will use my soul-devouring divine ability to forcefully devour my way back into my original body. As long as I can devour you, Ansha, the Saint Ancestor's avatar, then everything will be fine. Ying Yue finally said slowly, all right, I'll set up a temporary formation first, to prevent those two from leaving and coming back. Han Li nodded. With a flip of his palm, a stack of formation flags appeared in his hand. Then, he cast them out one by one. In an instant, they sank into the surroundings and vanished from sight. A layer of azure light immediately appeared, enveloping the small hall within it. Seeing this, Ying Yue sat down where she was without a word. Han Li's figure moved, and he sat down cross-legged opposite Ying Yue, gazing at the woman's exquisitely beautiful face. He said calmly, I'm about to begin the spell. You must be very careful. After this word of warning, Han Li formed a hand seal. Instantly, spakes of clear light emerged from his body. At the same time, an ancient incantation came from his lips. A moment later, the azure light emitting from Han Li's body became blindingly bright, completely enveloping the two of them within it, making it impossible to see anything clearly. After about the time it takes to eat a meal, the sound of the incantation abruptly stopped, but a soft cry was heard from Ying Yue. Immediately, a clear light flashed, and the figures of the two reappeared. The graceful figure was pressing one hand to her forehead. A pained expression appeared on her beautiful face. Are you okay? Han Li, his eyes filled with worrying, hurriedly asked. The secret technique was very successful. Even if Long Meng reawakens and regains control, she won't be able to break this seal. We mustn't delay. Let's go. I don't know when Long Meng will reawaken. We should hurry and enter the 9th layer. The silver-haired woman shook her head. After her expression recovered slightly, she gave Han Li an enchanting smile. For a moment, the woman's smile seemed to outshine a blooming rose, so delicate and vibrant. Han Li gazed at her, and after confirming that she was truly okay, he nodded with slight hesitation. So, the two stood up. The silver-haired woman raised her hand, and a yellow talisman shot straight into the void. As a result, a spiritual light flashed in midair, and instantly, a yellow glow burst forth, and a transparent spatial barrier appeared out of thin air. After a blood-red light slashed at the barrier, Han Li, who was already poised to strike, waved a single hand. A three-colored flame and a massive sword jet also shot out one after another. The thunderfire bow in the hands of the humanoid puppet was also released, sending a sky full of flaming rocks, striking the same point. Finally, after twisting for a moment, the barrier was forcefully shattered by the concentrated power. A huge hole was immediately revealed. At the same time, surging demonic just swarmed out with a soft cry. Her figure, wrapped in a ball of blood-red light, darted inside. The wind and thunder wings on his back spread, and Han Li also teleported into this space in a flash of silver light. As soon as his body appeared, countless streams of demonic chair rolled towards him. With a frown, he gripped the round steel shield in his other hand. With a flash, it flew out from his sleeve, and a layer of silver light shielded it. As soon as the pitch-black demonic chair touched the magnetic claws, a sizzling, corrosive sound immediately erupted on its surface, causing the protective spiritual light to dim slightly. Seeing this, Han Li's brow furrowed slightly. Back when he ventured deep into the 10,000-fathom demonic abyss of the boundless sea, the demonic chair there wasn't as terrifying as this place. Unfortunately, I have very little evil warding divine lightning left, and this primal steel shield's transformed protection looks like it can't last long in this demonic chair. I'll have to make this quick. Thinking this, Han Li glanced over at the woman, Ying Yue. She was currently enveloped in the bloody light from that blood blade, and the demonic Che was churning endlessly nearby. Unable to get too close, it seems. There was a good reason for this woman to borrow this item from that Shai Shang. That was not without reason. Ying Yue called out, and pointed toward the center of the space, heading over. Han Li, on the other hand, flickered, and flew high into the sky, his glowing trail gradually disappearing, as he concealed his presence. Just then, from the direction of the distant altar came a few faint, charming laughs, followed by the sound of several wolf howls. Then, the cold voice of the black-armored woman rang out, "HMPH, you actually dare to return, very well. This sacred ancestor will finish you off."